Hi there, this is Terry from Stamping Magic. Welcome back to my channel. Today's project is this lovely masculine gift bag. I've used the Come Sail Away designer series paper and the A Good Man stamp set. It's a really good size, being 8 inches tall, 3 3/4 inches wide and 2 inches deep. And it's just held closed by the use of some linen twine. I'm also going to show you how to make a coordinating card. Now, I've used some of the scrap that was left after creating the bag to decorate this card. So let's get started. These are all the measurements you need for the various elements required to create this project. So if you're interested in reproducing it, you can take a screenshot and refer to it later. I have a sheet of the Come Sail Away designer series paper here, and I want to score my lid line and my base line first. So I've got the pattern running across from left to right. Now when the gift bag is complete, my pattern will run vertically. So I'm reinserting it left to right, and I'm going to score down at 2 inches and 10 inches. You then want to rotate your paper so your pattern is upside down. Now with mine it doesn't matter because I'm just using vertical stripes, but if I was using the design on the other side, I would have to make sure that my sailboats were upside down. Then you want to score down at 1/2 inch, and 4 1/4 inches. Now when you do the next score, you want to stop at the bottom score line, the horizontal line. So it's 6 1/4 inches, and I'm going to stop when I hit that second horizontal score line. And then I'm going to score down at 10 inches and do the same. So I'm stopping at the second horizontal. Now the only reason I stopped at that score line was because I wanted to save this piece of paper to use on my card later on. So that's why I stopped at that second score line. I'm going to cut away that corner section and use it on my card. I've created this template just to show you a bit more clearly what I'm going to do next. So I've already said I'm going to preserve that piece at the top. I'm going to cut away the little section above and below the long thin 1/2 inch tab at the side, and I'm also going to slant cut the side edges of that. And then I'm going to create tabs along the bottom just by cutting up the score line to that first horizontal. Okay, so I'm going to start by cutting away those little corner sections above and below the 1/2 inch strip. And I'm also going to slant cut the remaining edges of that strip. Then I'm going to create the tabs along the base of the bag by cutting up the score line, and I like to actually remove the score line, so I'm making 2 cuts for each one. It was quite difficult to see some of these with the stripe of the paper, so if you find that if you just give them a fold along that score line, they'll become a bit clearer. And then finally I'm going to remove that top piece that I want to use on my card, and because I haven't scored through it, then I can do that. I'm now going to mark the position for the first brad, and this needs to be central and just approximately 1/2 inch from that top edge, which is about 1 1/4 centimeters. So I'm just making a pencil mark, and then I'll pierce that hole in a second. I'm going to use some of our metallic brads for this gift bag. Now these come in various colours, but I'm going to use 2 of the gold ones. I'm using the 1/2 inch circle punch to punch out 2 mossy meadows circles, and then I'm going to pierce a hole through the centre of both of these. One of these I'll keep for later on. Now I can then go ahead and pierce the hole in my bag, thread the brad through the circle and then through the hole in the gift bag. When you open the legs of the brad, keep them loose, don't make them tight. I'm going to shape the sides of this front piece, this lid, and I'm going to do that by marking 1/4 of an inch in from each side edge, and that's about 6 millimeters. Then I'm going to draw a line from that point to the bottom corner of that section, and I only draw this line because I can't cut straight otherwise. Then I can cut those pieces away using scissors. I can then fold on all the score lines and burnish the folds with my bone folder. I can now add glue to that side tab and then stick the other edge to it to form the bag shape. The panel with the lid section attached to it is the back. So when you do the base of the bag, that's the piece that folds in first of all. Now, I'd forgotten that I wanted to trim off the side tabs, so I'm just doing that now. So I've just cut them approximately in half, and I'm also going to slant cut either side of them so that when I fold them in, they're not going to show. So of course you can do this while the bag is flat before you join it together if you want to. Okay, so starting again, the back of the box is the one with the flap attached. That goes in first, then the side tabs, and then my front tab. And this way the side tabs are sandwiched in between the 2 larger flaps and they don't show. So it makes your bag very neat. Now I'm going to add glue to the side tabs and the front tab. And then the sides go in and then my front goes down, and that leaves a nice neat edge on the front of your bag. Then I'll just press down from the inside to make sure everything is stuck tight. To enable the front flap to come down and close your box, you want to pinch the top of the box in. So you push in with your forefingers and then you press your thumb and your middle finger together. And then just check that the sides of your box are nice and neat. Just press them in slightly. I'm now going to mark the position for the second brad, and again that needs to be about 1/2 inch or 1 1/4 centimeters down from the edge of that front flap. Now just carefully pierce the hole, don't stab yourself, and then we can add the brad through our second mossy meadow circle and then through the bag, and then open the legs on the back. Again, you don't want this to be very tight, so keep it as loose as you can. I'm using some of the braided linen trim for my closure, so I'm going to secure one end around that top brad and then bring it around the bottom brad in a figure of 8 up round the top one, and then I can trim off the end. You could use linen thread or baker's twine if you don't have this trim. This trim is really a little thick, but I do like the look of it. I stamped my main image using Memento Tuxedo black ink and coloured it using the Stamping Blends alcohol markers. The image comes from the A Good Man stamp set, and I'm also going to use this little sentiment later. I have scrap card in Sahara Sand and Mossy Meadow here, and I'm going to use the rectangle stitched framelit dies to cut all these out. So the 4th size up I'm going to use to cut out my image, and I'm going to position the image towards the top of that rectangle so I can get the sentiment in. Then the next size up for the Mossy Meadow, and then the next size up again for the Sahara Sand. So this is the 3rd down from the largest, if you like. Once I've cut out my image panel, I'm going to emboss it using the Subtle folder. I'm stamping my sentiment onto a scrap of Whisper White using Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and then I'm going to die cut it with the smallest of the stitched rectangle dies. So I'm positioning the left hand side first of all, and I'm going to run the whole thing through the Big Shot. And then I can remove it from the die, get rid of the scrap, and I can position the die again to cut the right hand side of that sentiment. Now as you position the die over what you've already cut, because it's stitched, it will sort of slot in and hold itself. So I'm just securing with a little piece of purple tape just to make sure it doesn't move, and I'm going to position my acrylic plate just where I want to stop that cut. I don't want to run it all the way through. So it will stop cutting as soon as it falls off that plate. And then I have my sentiment in the size that I need for my project. The 3 main panels can now be layered on top of each other. You want to add dimensionals to the back of the main piece and also the sentiment strip, and then you can position the sentiment strip onto the main panel. Finally, you can remove the backs from the dimensionals and then position your panel onto your gift bag. I'm going to trim the piece of designer series paper that we saved at the beginning. I want to make sure the edge where I cut it is straight, so I'm just trimming off a tiny bit there, and then I'm going to cut it to the length to fit the panel that goes on the front of my card. I can now put my card together, and these are the elements you need. My card base is half a sheet of standard cardstock, scored in the middle and folded to create a portrait card. Then I have a Sahara Sand panel, and this has been embossed using the bricks and mortar embossing folder. And then I have my strip of designer series paper. Now my main panel I've created in exactly the same way as the one I created for the gift bag, and I've added dimensionals to the reverse. And then for the inside I've just done a little stamping. So I've used a sentiment stamp from a Goodman stamp set again, this little one, and I've also used the heart, and I've stamped this in Mango Melody, which is the same colour I used for his shirt. I'm going to start by gluing the designer series paper strip onto the Sahara Sand panel. Then I can position my image panel, This whole section can then be added to the front of the card base. Finally, the inside panel can be added. And that's it. Both projects are now complete. I think this would be a lovely set to give to any man. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Bye for now.